There we go. Excellent. Thank you everyone for joining this information session. This is hosted by the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. This is the Community Impact Grant opportunity for the fall of 2026. So hopefully you found yourself on the right flight. I'm going to start by introducing the other members of my team that I get to work with every day. Kirsten Russell is the Vice President of Community Impact here at the Community Foundation. She's not on this meeting today, but I think everyone else is. So I will let them, if they're able, unmute and just give a wave. Rebecca, and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Abrahamson. I am another Director of Community Impact here at the Foundation.
And with that, I should probably introduce myself. I am Michelle Croft. I'm the other Director of Community Impact here at the Community Foundation of Sarasota County. Stephanie Miller.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Miller, and I'm the manager of grants and scholarships here on the Community Impact team.
Laura.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Dykstra. I'm a specialist on our team. And so I work a lot in education, scholarships, and a little bit of grants.
And Stephanie B.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Borkowski, and I'm a coordinator on the Community Impact team.
So we are a small but mighty team here at the Community Foundation. So if you have questions about grants, scholarships, where you're most likely to interact with one of us, they do make us pretty easy to find on the website. This is right from there, so you can find our phone numbers and our emails right on there anytime you need a little bit of support. Again, if you could just put the name and organization that you're with in the chat, that would be wonderful. We'd love to know who's here and joining us. So to start, many of you might be familiar, but give you a little overview of the Community Foundation. For over 46 years, we've connected donors in our community with the nonprofits that match with their interests so that we can make meaningful impact across the 4 counties that we serve. So even though our name is the Community Foundation of Sarasota County, we serve Manatee, Charlotte, and DeSoto County as well. And the Community Foundation, we like to think, is unique and special in a lot of ways, but one of them is that we are made up of 1,600 individual funds. So while many of them are still advised by the donor that created them, donor advised funds or DAFs, many other funds have been left to us in donor legacy, and those are managed by this team, the Community Impact team. And those funds are the ones that are used to support open, competitive grant cycles like this one. Each of those funds has a special and unique purpose that's just as unique as the donor that created them. And it is our honor and privilege to steward those funds out into the community through grant awards to nonprofit organizations, and we do that in accordance with those wishes articulated by the donor. It's not only our gift to be able to do that, our honor, it's also our legal obligation to do so in the way that the donor articulated it in their fund agreement. What does that mean for grant making? What does that mean for you in this cycle? It means that we have looked at the needs of the community, data, the foundation initiatives, what our board of directors and our long history has determined is priority to the Community Foundation, and the funds we have available. What funds are available to support this grant cycle? It may mean in some cases we're able to support some areas more deeply than others because we have more funds that are special to those causes. It also means we may be restricted in supporting some programs, some causes, some areas of work because we don't have funds that support them. So we try to create frameworks, priority areas, and guidelines for you so that as you don't have to worry about that piece of it. We figured it out on the other side. So we hope that these priority areas help you align your request with our ability to support it and the funds that we have available. That being said, after decisions are made about grant funding, it's our responsibility to match those funds, match those requests and those grant awards with funds that we have available and make sure that they align. Stephanie Miller is our resident matchmaker. That's her job. She looks at those hundreds of funds and takes our requests, grant recommendations, and makes sure that they align accordingly. So that's why some of our grant dollars are more restrictive than others, and our program, we're a little bit more clear about our priority areas. It's really to help you align with the funds that we have available. In order to be eligible for a grant from the Community Foundation, you need to be a 501c3 public charity. The program that you're requesting needs to have a primary service that is located in Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte, or DeSoto. You need to maintain a current profile in the giving partner. This is one of those beautiful seasons of life where most of you have a current updated giving partner profile because we just had a giving challenge, and a lot of you kept it current, kept it up to date. I think we had a cute slogan that went along with that. But please know that that expiration date on your giving partner profile is connected to your state solicitation permit. So once a year, it is going to expire. In order to keep that profile current, you need to have your updated state solicitation permit updated to the platform, and then we will approve that for you. As you are working on your grant application, you will see that listed in there. We ask for your giving partner profile. We want to know that it's updated. If it's pending or you're working on it, please indicate so in the application and keep moving forward and get your application in on time when it closes on August 31st. And we use that giving partner profile for many reasons, and we know that other funders do as well. The information that you provide in the giving partner provides us with a wealth of information, your 990, what your board looks like, how often they meet, some overview of your programs. All of that information is incredibly valuable to our review committee. And because you've provided it in the giving partner profile, we don't need to ask for it again in your grant application. So we're not going to ask for your organizational budget, your most recent 990, who your board members are, because we can find that in the giving partner profile. So that's why those two things are very important and how they work together. If you have any questions about your giving partner profile, nonprofits@CF Sarasota is a great email. And we can talk more about that. If you have the specific questions, I would reserve those to the end. We also ask that you don't have any outstanding grant reports to the Community Foundation. So if you've received a grant in the last year or two, you will have been required to report on it. It's important for us to evaluate the impact, understand how your program went. We want to learn, we want to understand how those grant dollars went. It is also an audit regulation. We need to show that we asked you to report on it, and we need to show that you did. So in keeping good standing, we need to make sure that all those grant reports are in. So if you have received a grant from us, please check that those grant reports are up to date. I'll talk in a little more detail about how you can find that and a very important date that aligns with that in just a minute. The last bullet here, that you haven't received a community impact grant in the last calendar year. If you received a community impact grant, not a sponsorship, not a capacity building grant, if you received a community impact grant in our last cycle, we had one in the wintertime, you would not be eligible to apply for this cycle. That's the simplest way to put it. So you can only receive a grant from each cycle once per calendar year. We did hold a cycle around this time last year. If you received a grant at that time, you are able to apply again now, providing you are in accordance with the other items on this list. So what are our community impact grants? These are the grants that support the work that you're doing out in the community. And they're really designed to help you enable individuals and families achieve lasting well-being, economic mobility, and reflect the foundation's 3 areas of impact. So on our website, if you look, you'll see that our foundation as a whole has 3 core areas of impact. They've been unchanged for quite some time. It's community care, empowerment and success, and belonging and culture.
Michelle?
And I'll break those down. Yes.
Excuse me.
Question.
We have a question that came in,
Great.
and that is that there is a vision program that provides services in Sarasota, but headquartered in Miami, working with the Department of Health in Sarasota, and can provide their address for the giving partner profile. Otherwise, they wouldn't qualify with the Miami address, correct? So if an organization is headquartered somewhere else with no ability to use one of the 4 counties as a address, then they are not qualified for the giving partner. That is correct, typically.
Yes. Yeah, and
Okay.
there's a distinction as well between what you're eligible for to create a giving partner profile and what you're eligible for to receive a grant from the Community Foundation. Those are not the same. So it is possible for you to have a giving partner profile where you're providing services within our 4 county reach. We certainly want our donors to be able to support you in that way and for you to participate in the Giving Challenge. But because the scope of our grant cycles don't allow us to support all 750 registered nonprofits within the Giving Partner, we really would like to focus our grant making dollars on programs that are located in one of our 4 counties. That's really the intent of our donors when they contributed to the community or established funds here, is that they are going to be going out and making the most impact for programs that are located in one of the 4 counties. Data. I feel like it's on a lot of people's minds these days. We ask for data, we look for data, we want you to report on data. We provide data. We have a community indicators dashboard. So what does that mean as far as our grant making and this grant cycle is concerned? We evaluated a lot of information and a lot of data. We have a wonderful data analyst here at the Community Foundation. And here are some high-level data points that helped us shape our grant making for this cycle. So as we go through the different priority areas, please know that those are also aligned with the data that we know. And this is up to date as of very recently. We know that in the 4 counties we serve, 42% live below the ALICE threshold. ALICE is asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So these are people that are working and struggling to get by in our community with the cost of living. Please know that number is even higher for our senior population. That is one of the largest growing ALICE populations within the 4 counties that we serve. 24% of residents over 16 are living in poverty or unemployed in our area. 1 in 3, we only have this data really for Sarasota County, but in Sarasota County, 1 in 3 Sarasota households are rent burdened. What does that mean? They're spending more than 30% of their income on their rent. 55% of students in our 4 county region qualify for free or reduced lunch. Please know in some of our counties, that's in the 90s. This is an indicator, again, of our families as a whole and where they are economically. These are kind of all indicators that help us understand the people in our community and what programs would be best suited to support them. 1 in 9 adults in our area do not have health insurance. So you'll see health is an area that our priority areas will correspond with some of these data points. 48.6% of middle and high school students in Sarasota report feeling chronically sad or depressed most days. It's a startling statistic, I think. 1 in 7 people in our area are estimated to be food insecure. And of that grouping, 44% of them do not qualify for the threshold for SNAP benefits. So you can see there's certainly a gap there and a need for programs that support people who are food insecure. And we know that in our community, it costs more than $100,000 for a family income. The household needs income of $100,000 or more just to meet the basic needs to live in the communities that we support. So each of the 3 impact areas that I discussed earlier, this is all in the application. It's on our website. You can see we're trying to give you examples within those 3 priority areas of programs that would be appropriate to request funding for, and again, that we have the funds available to support. So health, and I would say a caveat for every single application and program is really about access and removing barriers. So your program is making services available to people that may not otherwise be able to access them. So that could be health, which could be mental behavioral health services, programs that help provide stability for families, whether it be accessing housing support services. So we just talked about programs that support individuals who identify as being food insecure, and placemaking, programs that help strengthen neighborhoods and connections. We know that when we strengthen families or individuals, then we strengthen families, then we strengthen neighborhoods, and whole communities are stronger and have the ability to thrive. Empowerment and success, and you'll notice these in ways build on each other. Programs that support community care, people are able to get their basic foundational needs met, are then able to move into a place where they may be able to build their strength and become more economically mobile. And that's where empowerment and success comes in. So it's developing community networks. Those are those systems, peer support groups, things that you can lean on that help you become a stronger individual and build that social capital that will help you elevate yourself, your family. Youth leadership programs. So preparing our young people for success through youth programs. I would say, think of youth leadership, youth programs in this space. You'll see a little asterisk kind of at the bottom. What this isn't is education. So if your program is specifically geared towards education, I would recommend that you reach out, and there's a different grant opportunity for that. Are people asking a question? I feel like someone just said the same one, so I must have been unclear.
The question is, and I think you addressed this a little bit earlier, but if they applied for and received a grant last year for this same grant cycle, are they eligible? And do they need to submit their grant report prior to being eligible for a new grant?
Yes and yes. So you are eligible because and you would need to have a report on it before we would consider your next request. The next is workforce development and economic mobility. Programs that help individuals gain some additional skills to elevate their ability to find employment or achieve financial stability. Belonging culture. So this is where programs that help strengthen families, bridge generations, senior programs. These are going to be cultural and arts development, your art programs that really expand access to programs, and maybe so that individuals who may not otherwise be able to access those programs are able to. Again, it's a lot of information on these last 3 slides. Wanted to kind of go as quickly as I could. You can dig a little bit deeper. It's all available on the website. Hopefully you find a place for yourself within these, and if you don't, there's opportunities for you to connect with us, and we really want to make sure that you're set up for success, so that if you're not quite sure you fit in the category, let's have come to one of our office hours or reach out so that we can have that conversation before you begin writing a grant application. Everything we do is really grounded in our 2Gen philosophy, which is really about programs, strategies, and a way of thinking that intentionally supports all the people in a family. And we recognize that families are unique in the way they define themselves. So in some cases, it's intentionally supporting the children and adults that are in a household. But really it's these different gears, and this is also available on our website. You can see there's different gears here: post-secondary employment and pathways, social capital, emotional, mental health and well-being, economic access. We do not expect that your program is able to deliver on every single cog in this wheel. We just want to know where you fit in and how you might work with other organizations that may connect to these other parts. And we certainly understand that not every program and every organization serves all layers of a family. And again, every family is unique in how they define themselves. A sober living household might identify them, that's their family unit right now. That's who they identify as a family. And how does strengthening a program in that capacity help the individuals there? Maybe they're able to develop new relationships or rekindle relationships with their family members. So that kind of shows how it may layer within that family as they identify themselves in a program as well as their biological family as well. A senior program, you might only be working with an aging population, but because of the work that you're doing and how you're supporting them, their families members know that they're thriving, they're more secure, and they can feel comforted in that way and do their work, and it complements everyone in the family. Program for children, you might only be working with children, but how are you connecting with the parents? How is what you're doing allowing potentially parents to maybe it's an after school program so parents can go to work. They can stay at work later, or perhaps you're just helping support the mental health needs of a young person, and that's going to inevitably strengthen their relationship with their parents. Ultimately, our goal is to create a community where everyone can thrive. So our 2Gen philosophy is how all people, families, communities are interconnected, and how your work is connected with those different pieces. But our expectation is not that your particular program meets all of these things at the same time. Everyone wants to know about the money part. I get that. Requests for this grant cycle should not exceed $25,000. Generally, the average award is around $15,000. Again, that's a generally. And if awarded, we will most likely be sending those grant checks in October of this year. And the expectation is that they be used within 365 days. As far as funding goes, our grants support single year awards. We do not have the ability through this grant cycle to do multi-year grants. What we don't fund. So we fund a lot of things. I could go through all the things we do fund, but it's easier to say, I think, what we don't. So we do not support retroactive funds that have already been expended. We can't reimburse or support retroactive funds. Capital campaigns or capital costs. What does that mean? So capital campaigns, pretty clear, but buildings, supporting the materials that go into building a program, and really kind of your larger hard costs. If your entire application is for desks and shelving, it is not likely to be successful. Having some small hard costs within a program is reasonable. Everyone needs materials and things to make their program run. But if your entire application is like hard things and items you need to purchase, that wouldn't be a great fit for our grant funding, because most of our funds that we use to support say in their fund agreement that they go to programs. And it is a little harder to reconcile that with buying and building and materials. I hope that makes sense. Pass-through grants, where we're going to grant to you and then you're going to give that to another organization. Litigious activities, general your annual appeals. This isn't a great opportunity for that. This isn't for contributions to your endowment, and multi-year salaries. So if your entire application is focused on the salary of one individual, that is unlikely to be a successful application, because it's not appropriate to grant funding to someone and them not know. Again, it's not a multi-year award. We wouldn't be able to guarantee funding for the next year. We appreciate that part of your program budget will include staff costs. So parts of staff costs is appropriate. An entire application that's dedicated to one individual's year-over-year salary would not be an appropriate request. Before I go to that, so what does an appropriate request look like? If you're submitting a request for a after-school youth leadership program, please provide the entire budget for that program. That's what we would like to see. We don't want to see your entire organization budget. We would like to see the entire budget for the program you're applying for. And then you would say, of this amount, we're requesting $15,000. There's a narrative portion of the application. It would be helpful if you could include in there where you believe where our funding would go, but we don't need a line by line itemization of how those funds are being allocated. review process. So I always say this, so if you've been part of this meeting before, I apologize, but I wrote grants for about 10 years and I always wondered where they went and what happened to them. Who's looking at them? And my vision was this. I always envisioned there was someone at a desk with a big stamp and they said denied or approved, and that was the end of it. So I always wish I knew what was going on behind the scenes. So we try to be as transparent as possible about our process. This grant opportunity is a competitive one, so it means that as many people, it is open to anyone that is eligible to apply. We use a committee structure to review all of those grants. So, and that committee is comprised of some of the people on this team, some individuals that work here at the Community Foundation who have other roles within the organization, board members, and members of the community. So anyone that we seek out volunteers from throughout the community that would not be able to apply for a grant with us to serve as a review member. And the committee changes for every cycle. Some of us stick around for all of them because it's our job, but the rest of the committee members change for each cycle. It provides us an opportunity to get a real diversity of thought, and people that live and work in the community consistently provide us with incredible feedback and have just a different lens of looking at things than we might, than individuals who are looking at grant applications all the time. As soon as your grant application comes in, our team will give it an initial vetting and make sure that it's appropriate to move forward to the committee. Really, that would just be that giving partner profile, making sure your grant reports are up to date, nothing outstanding, that you're in good standing with the IRS, things like that. So as long as those are met, we'll move it forward to the committee. If we see something out of hand that we think is an example is, it's for an entire capital campaign, we would withdraw that and say that and then we would let you know right away. Otherwise, they all get moved forward to that committee process. There's a rubric that our committee uses. It's done, our committee members review every application online, and they're asked the same series of questions about every single application, and that is what is used for our initial review of the applications. So they have a few week review period. They're going to go online, they're going to answer all those questions, put a little feedback in a box. Stephanie Miller is going to tabulate all of those scores onto a big, beautiful spreadsheet. And then the entire committee meets for many hours and we go through all of those results. In doing so, we have a conversation about each application, and those are when we make those grant recommendations. We leave that meeting with a recommendation for the grants that we would like to support. And then that goes forward. Stephanie Miller matches them all. We hope we can have funds that go along with all of our wonderful programs that we want to support. And then they go through an approval process here at the Community Foundation. So while your grant application will be due on August 31st, in order to do all of those wonderful things, we need some time. And so that's what we do in the month of September. And then we'll be able to give you we'll notify you of your grant being awarded or denied in the month of October. And I don't know the exact date yet. We'll get there. It takes a little bit of time. We want you to be successful. Our goal, our job is to support nonprofits through grant dollars. We wish every single grant application could be supported. Unfortunately, just not the way it works. We don't have the funds to make everyone's grant application dreams come true. But what I can do is give you some tips that will help you be the most successful. Again, where's your program located and primarily serving? Is it primarily serving one of our 4 counties? That is of the utmost importance to us. Collaboration. Are you collaborating with other organizations? Do you have partnerships that help you fulfill that kind of 2-gen philosophy and to help complement and strengthen your work? Our 2-gen philosophy, as I mentioned. Data. Do you have any data that could support why you're doing the work that you're doing or why you're making this request? We talk about data. You don't need to have a whole big spreadsheet. Even pointing to one of those data points is something that you could utilize as a reasoning behind your request. And so kind of data going in to support why the program is needed, and then data on the other side. How are you going to be able to demonstrate that there are measurable outcomes? What tool, what are you looking to evaluate? How are you evaluating it? And then how do you know that the program had success or didn't? That's okay too. Sometimes some things don't work, and you can measure that and discuss it. That's appropriate as well. Organizational alignment. Why is your organization the best one to be doing this program? Help us understand why this program should be done by you specifically. Sustainability. This is hard, and I think it gets harder every year, but how will this program sustain itself beyond the calendar year if it is going to? So some programs have a beginning and end date. That's okay, but if the program is going to go beyond it, we can't guarantee we're going to be able to support this program next year. Do you have a plan in place? Do you have other funding streams and that might be available to you to keep it going after us? These are some tips, and when you're actually writing your grant application, tell your story the way you would tell someone over coffee. Again, our review committee consists of a broad range of people. Only a handful, the smallest, the minority group, has read a grant application before. The majority of the people on our grant committee have not, and they are unlikely to be embedded within the area that you do work. And you saw the diversity of priority areas. We are going to get grant applications in that whole spectrum. So there's no expectation that we'll understand all the jargon and the language and of what you're articulating in your grant application. Yes, I thought, Rebecca, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, this isn't necessarily applicable to this specific slide, but the question is, an organization applied in February of 2027. They were awarded in April 2027. They're wondering if they can apply in winter again. And the answer is, again, yes, you can. You want to get that grant report in prior to being eligible for that award. But the reason that your due date is in April of 2027 technically is that award will be 12 months after the grant is awarded, and it normally takes a couple of weeks for the determinations to happen and then for that the check to be processed and get out to you. So yes, you can apply, and yes, you'll want to get that grant report in prior to, yes, the winter application.
Thank you. So again, about explaining your program, make it clear and understandable. And you don't need to have professional grant writing experience. We prefer, we understand the capacity and the resources available to nonprofits, especially our smaller nonprofits. You might not have the capacity to hire someone to write your grant application, and we don't want you to. The person that's closest to your work that's doing the program is probably the best person suited to write the grant application. We just want to know about the program, help us understand it in a way that makes sense if we had never heard of what you do before. And that's also, so you know, that's advice that we give to our grant review committee. So we're saying it to you and we say it to them. We don't want them to hold how the grant application was written, language, number of words, how fancy the language is, to hold that against an organization. We really want to see that you've articulated and we understand what the program is, why you're best suited to carry it out. You have a budget that makes sense, that is demonstrates thought that it can support the program, the budget makes sense, and that you're the best organization to do it, why you're best suited to execute the program. It's your time to shine. Tell us why you're wonderful and special and why this program is too. Budget. We've said it. We'll say it in the application. We say it here. We would like the budget for your program, not your entire organization. We can find that. Please show us a simple budget for for the program that you're asking, and then how much you're asking from us. New or existing program, just explain why now we should be creating a new program, what needs it's meeting, what data you have to back it up, or why now you need support for an existing program. No wrong answers, just help us understand the reason why you're seeking funding now for that program. We have some additional resources for you. Our community indicators dashboard is available and free to everyone on our website. It is a wealth of data, maybe too much. I don't know, it's a lot, but it could probably help you dial down and get some of the data that we're looking for. So you're going to find every field of interest, every scope of work has some data behind it, and they've done all that. Smarter people than I am have figured it all out and put it all in there, and you can I feel like it's like a machine. They put it all in and you guys can pull it all out the other side. You can get graphs and data. It's pretty fantastic. Analyst report was recently released. I think that is a really important resource to understand the composition of the people in our community and what their economic health is. Please make sure you're signed up for our nonprofit news. It's where we share not only grant opportunities, but other things that are going on at the Community Foundation and with other foundations and organizations in the community. The Community Impact Office Hours, probably one of our favorite resources to all of you. Every Friday from 11 a.m. to noon, we are on a Zoom call. It's open house style. The link never changes. It's on our website. It's in all of our email signatures. Hop on there and ask us your questions. Get your question answered and leave. You can come at any point during the hour. It's a great time to get kind of fine-tune things, get a general question answered. It's every Friday unless it's a holiday or the office is closed, and we try to post those dates up there. One or all of us, whoever's available, is on that call. So please feel free to utilize that to touch base with us when you need it. Oh, we have a new grant platform. If you've applied for a grant with us since May 1st of 2025, then you've already experienced it and it's not new for you. It's the one we have now. So since then, since May 1st of 2025, we did transition to a new grant application platform. When you click the link opportunity on our website, you're going there automatically. Every person should have their own unique login. And so you can, the first time you log in, so if you haven't applied for a grant from us since 5/1/2025, you will need to create a login, just like you do for any other subscription online, any other platform. And once you do it, you can just continue to log in under that profile. Please know that many other funders use this same software, the same platform. So sometimes your computer automatically pre-populates with your email address and password that you used for the Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and then all of a sudden it's not working. Make sure that you see our logo on the top of the page. And if you know you haven't applied for a grant since May 1st of 2025, then just you need to create a new profile. Please know that while we appreciate it can sometimes be confusing, this grant application is completely separate from anything you did that had to do with your giving partner profile. That is a different platform. So you probably have a GiveGab login or some other logins that you use for the Giving Challenge or for the Giving Partner. This is unique. Our grant platform is just for grant making, and you would need to have a separate login for that. I'm going to take a breath and a drink of water and let some questions roll, and then I will go in and show you what it looks like if you haven't already seen the application really quickly.
There's a question of whether you can apply for a community impact grant and a capacity building grant in the same year, and the answer is yes.
Any other question? Can you all see my new screen? Yes? Great. So if you haven't already, I'm logged in as Mary McTester. She's our testing account. If you as soon as you create that login, you'll associate yourself, just connect yourself with the nonprofit that you work with. If your organization, nonprofit, has applied for grant funding for us with us in the past, on the back end, we will combine you and add you to that existing nonprofit organization. But again, you would need to have your own unique login information. You'll click on the apply button. I'm not going to go through this entire application. I want to just highlight a couple of places, starting with this contact information for request. I'm giving this advice for a very good reason. Please put the name and direct phone number for someone that could answer questions about this grant opportunity, your grant application. I cannot reinforce that enough. Sometimes you have a question, we don't understand something, and we want to get that additional information and put it with your application before it goes to the review committee. So when we look at them, we'll be like, something's not making sense. Let me just call Joe, get the answer, be like, oh, and we'll update it. It'll go into your application, and then the committee will see it. If we can't get in touch with, if we end up with the main number, I can't tell you how many times that by the time someone calls us back, it's already gone out to the committee. So please know we're asking this. It's really a benefit to you. We just want to have someone we can talk to if we have a question so we can help you out. Your operating budget, it's important for us to understand your overall entire organization's operating budget so we can see what your request is relative to that amount. Giving partner profile, everything else should be really self-explanatory. There's an opportunity at the end to attach documents. If anyone has any specific questions about this application, I could go to that piece of it. But I would just remind you that most of the time, our committee reviewers have up to 20 applications to review. So extra words don't get you extra money or extra points. We just want to understand what your program does. So because we put a limit of words on there, you don't have to use all of them. It's okay. So I will stop there again. And if anyone has any questions about anything or particularly parts of this application that might be confusing, now would be a great time to ask. And if you want to come off mute, you can and just ask at this point if that's helpful. Nothing? Goodness. Okay, CI team, what did I miss? Help me out. Is there anything else that you think we should share? No.
No, I think you covered it all, Michelle.
Okay, wait.
One question.
Hi. I have a question, and I'm the one who's not sure if we qualify to apply, but you talked about the budget. Let's say our organization has a lot of programs, has a huge budget, and then it has this program that also is the one that serves in Sarasota. And so in this case, the budget that it's a statewide budget that would apply to Sarasota. Is that the one I would use for the organization, or you would still want the organization's operating budget?
No, so in the application, we never want your organizational budget. We
Okay.
wanted that number on the application that I showed a minute ago, like just put the amount, like
Okay, but
$200,000. But please do not attach your whole organization's operating budget. It happens all the time. We can find that in your giving partner profile. We just want the budget for the program you're requesting. So in your case, if it's even dialed down smaller, if it's state, we only want to see what Sarasota and what you're asking for and where those dollars are going to go.
right, but you mentioned about the organization, but there was a number. Do you want the number for the operating budget for the organization or the operating budget for the statewide program that serves?
The whole
the-
organization.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. John, thank you for using that hand raise feature. I love it.
Sorry.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Great. I was just wondering if you could speak a little more about the two-gen philosophy. Like, are you looking for programs that have separate arms that are, almost separately serving two generations, or just like that in their impact, they comprehensively serve generations? Does
That's
that
a
make
great
sense? Okay.
question. Of course, absolutely. And I think a lot of people kind of get stuck here.
Sure.
Just how whatever program you're requesting funding for, how is that either serving multiple generations, or how is it, if you're only serving one, how are you connected to other? Maybe you have a partner that's doing work with, I don't want to keep using other generations, but complementing the other parts. Rebecca, I'm going to ask you to share. You always do such a great job, so I'm going to let you also answer this. Be a compliment, please.
That's so nice for you of you to say. So John, I mean, one way to think about it is if your program, and I think Michelle kind of alluded to this before, but let's say your program offers, I don't know if somebody else has their, will you mute your mic? I'm sorry. I'm not sure if it's you or somebody else, but I'm hearing
Yeah,
voices come in.
there we
Yeah,
go.
there we go. Thank you. So if your program, for example, has an after-school program for youth and you would like to apply, well, might be more meaningful for parents if that program day to day ended. First of all, was Monday through Friday rather than Monday through Thursday, which a lot of programs are, which leaves Friday out for working parents. That can be a little bit tricky for picking, for finding alternative care for their children during the time or the date that's not covered. And or if you have an after school program that ends at 4 versus 5:30, when parents could probably easily come pick their children up if they're working from a typical workday 9 to 5, then knowing that you've considered what the impacts of other arms of a family unit might be with the program you're delivering. Doesn't necessarily mean that if you have an after school program for youth, as the example that we're using, that you have actual programs for parents coming in or something that you're offering to them or providing to them. But there's a thoughtfulness and an intentionality behind the program design that does consider other generations of the family. And as Michelle mentioned, and I think it just kind of bears repeating in case, I know a couple of people came onto the call a few minutes, maybe after the call began, and that is that if you have an organization that isn't explicit to that, so Michelle used an example of like a sober living house, it's likely that they're not like two generations or there's in a sense, that you're supporting that. But the other part of that is when a family is, has a family member who is wrestling with an addiction, then it is actually really helpful for the entire family to know that their loved one is able to find services that are helping address a root of a problem. So that, you could, by extension, consider that something that's helping the entire family. So the thoughtfulness of how whatever it is you're providing can kind of have a ripple effect into maybe the indirect beneficiaries of the services and program that you provide. Is that helpful? Okay.
See, I told you she's going to do a great. She always does such a good job, better than I do explaining it. So thank you. It's almost easier to say like what the 2-gen approach is not. If you're doing a program in isolation that's serving one group of people and you don't care about anybody else, that's the opposite. So I'm pretty sure that in the work most of you are doing, you are making considerations on how your work is affecting and connected to the other generations within a family and the other organizations that may be providing complementary support. Other questions? It is most likely you're going to take like me, you're going to remember what you wanted to say like an hour from now, or you're going to be in the application in 2 weeks and writing and be like, oh my God, I should have asked during that information session. That's why we have office hours. Please come on. That's what we're there for. Otherwise, we all just sit and talk to each other for an hour. So join us during office hours. We will do the best we can to answer your question there. If that time doesn't work for you, send an email to impact@CF Sarasota, or if already have one of our email addresses, you can send it to us. We want you to have either the most successful application possible or be really carefully thoughtful about saying that we don't think it would be a great fit. We value your time and resources and do not want you to apply for something that we don't think would be successful. And we're happy to have a conversation with you about that in a less gigantic forum. Well, with that, I just love seeing all these names and faces and all these wonderful organizations that support our community. So thank you for helping our community thrive through the work that you do and for making the time to hop on here today. We appreciate that. All right, I'm going to end it.